do you know anybody that has saved their way to wealth? And I have not gotten an answer saying yes. I mean, just saving 10% of your W-2 and putting it into the stock market and, building your next egg. I mean, the difference between doing that and investing in assets, hopefully cash producing assets, cash flow producing assets. But I mean, even you have 50% in the stock market, 50% in real estate. Owning assets that appreciate over time is where most people build their wealth. And real estate is one where, you've seen the quotes, 90% of millionaires have built their wealth through real estate. But there is a true fear factor for people that have never invested. And what I think you said in the beginning is critical, that there's different ways to invest. You could decide to purchase your first single family home, or you move from your house like you did and then just rent it out and move to another house. You could do small duplexes and fourplexes and eightplexes, or you can do syndications. And you could, on the syndication side, you could be a GP like you are and then bring other people. Or what's great, and which I didn't know about until 4 years ago, was there's the ability to passively invest in these syndications. And so you find a syndicator like Arn and you invest alongside them, and they're doing the heavy lifting and the management. They have a property management company that's typically managing it day to day, but they're overseeing it. And it's a way to get involved and grow wealth from that perspective. So, I think that fear stops a lot of people from getting involved. What's your take on that?
Yes, people are fearful to do something that they're not familiar with. Though, of course, when you sit there and watch the stock market go up and down, that might create a little fear, and you might think about another way to do it. And what I would say, syndications really have only been widely available for about the last 10 to 12 years. I think there was a tax law change that opened it up to kind of average Americans, common Americans. And I think it's a great way for people to invest in something they intuitively know is a good thing. We know the population's growing. We know we have a housing shortage in this country, and there's really no solution to it. Nobody's really said, oh yeah, we're going to build 10 million homes in the next 2 years and solve it. It's going to be a continuing problem. And I think the nice thing about syndication investment, and when a lot of my investors are first-time syndication investors, and I talk to them about, you don't go all in on your first investment, right? If you have a nest egg of 250,000 investable cash, do not throw all 250 into the first deal you would see. No, don't do that. What I would say is invest 50 over here, invest 50 here, spread it around a little bit so you have some diversification, and then you'll get to see how that feels over the next year or so, and you'll be able to determine, is this something that you have good comfort with? You'll find operators maybe you like better than others. You might find markets that you like better than others. So don't put all your chips in. Kind of dip your toe in, get a little exposure. Look, there's going to be another great deal 6 months from now, okay? They don't disappear. They keep coming. So just take it slow, get your feet wet, see how you like it. And I think if you do it that way, I mean, the fear comes when you put every last dollar you have to your name into an investment. I wouldn't do that. That would terrify me. Yeah.
I think it's not just if you put all your eggs in, because I know my first passive deal, in real estate, and I had been, trading loan portfolios for years, but I'd never invested in real estate, and I had money in the stock market and all. It didn't, and like you said, it could drop by 20% or 50% just like that. But it was like what was familiar and what was, talked about, and everybody's supposed to do that. But the first time I invested in a passive deal, it wasn't, 100% of my portfolio, but I was still scared. I was like, I didn't know, I didn't know how it would pan out. I didn't know if it was a good decision or a bad decision. And I think that, I read a lot of self-development books, and I talk to a lot of people, and I think that people are more, and I fell into that camp. People are more afraid of losing than they are, have hope of gaining, so, that will hold people back from making that decision to try it.
Yes. Yes. And I think it sounds like you educated yourself about the space, about limited partner investments, about syndications. I imagine you probably interviewed a variety of
Absolutely.
operators. And
I did
so
all the things
by
that you
all
were
means,
supposed to
that's what you
do,
should do.
like listen to podcasts, read books, join a mentorship group, got referrals, met the syndicators, vetted which ones I wanted to work with, but still wiring that first 50 or 75,000 was like, oh man. And it all worked out great. I made great money off of it, but you didn't know at the time, right?
And I think that's instructive for us who are on the GP side to not forget what it's like for an LP making their
Yeah,
first investment,
absolutely.
right? So there has to be a degree of understanding and compassion and putting yourself in the other person's shoes. This is what we do. We talk all the time. We talk with syndicators all over the country. We buy and sell property. This is what we do. And sometimes we fall into the trap thinking, well, this is easy and everybody should get it, but it's not the way it works.
That's a great point. Is I think that understanding what they may be going through and the emotions they may be going through as a first-time investor, because look, the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth and 10th, passive investment after that, didn't feel the same. It's that first, one or two.
And you had made a comment earlier, more talking about life, that if you feel yourself stuck, you kind of got to go for it. And so I think the same thing kind of applies. And like for me, I'm a perfect example of that. Lifelong Silicon Valley resident. My life partner and girlfriend Laura and I decided to pull up roots and move to Greenville, South Carolina 7 years ago, and we knew nobody. We had visited for 3 days, but intuitively in our gut, we knew it was right. We took the leap of faith, packed up, moved clear across country, and have been happy as clams. And so you get back to that fear and how do you work through it? And I think they all often say when you're uncomfortable, you're kind of at a growth edge, right? So that's what tells you you're on the precipice of doing some growth. And I forget, Einstein may have said something, the day you stop learning is the day you start dying, right? So I think bringing it all back around about the idea of new experiences, keep growing, keep living, it all kind of ties together.
Absolutely. So, I don't want to go off on this tangent too much, but okay. I will share, so now, I'm like you, I understand the multifamily world, right? But 4 years ago I didn't. And so I'm playing golf with some guys, actually a multifamily guy who called me, but he's a younger guy, right? And so I'm like, look, you're a young guy. What's up with all this crypto and metaverse and all this? I don't understand it. And so there's a piece of me that's like, okay, is this just like the .com thing where it just goes up and then plummets? Or am I just an older guy who is naive and who is not taking the time to learn about a different industry? I don't know the answer. And again, like, I don't want to go too far on it, but that's a responsibility on myself that I have to do some educating of myself. And
Well, I'm with you, Darren. I don't have any crypto. I don't understand it. I'm not buying any crypto, and call me an old fuddy-duddy, but it's okay
yeah,
with
but
me.
the thing is like, okay, well, I'm 51, and if I think I'm going to live till over 100, then I'm like, well, this 50 years is, if 20 years from now, is there something going to be there or not? I don't know the answer. But the point is that, look, listeners, you have to trust your gut. I mean, Arn, was in single family for a long time, and I didn't ask him this, but I would imagine that he probably wishes he, took that chance a little bit earlier. And you have to take the chance. But then he went and moved across country. That was a risk, right? He could always move back, right? But he took the risk, and it turned out fantastic for him.